Amtrak train 141 en route from Springfield, Massachusetts to Norfolk, Virginia. That's quite a combo of endpoints. I got on at New York, but I'm going to start filming here at Trenton and film all the way down to Washington. Going to visit a friend in Washington today who's retiring after this week, and he's going back to the Philippines for good. And I thought I'd take a little trip down to see him and give him a bottle of Jack Daniels. It's got to be the longest trip anyone could take to deliver a bottle of Jack Daniels, personally. He's a good guy. Great friend. His wife and my wife are classmates back in the Philippines, so we latched on and stayed latched on, and we'll continue to be latched on even though we're half a world apart. The rest of the way, this train will stop at beautiful Philadelphia, Wilmington, Delaware, Baltimore, Maryland, BWI rail station, New Carrollton,
Philadelphia, 30th Street Station will be next.
New Carrollton Station outside of D.C. and Washington Union Station. Due in there at 11:41 a.m. Departing Trenton at 9:18. Got a couple of young rail buffs out there. Definitely a Keystone train from Harrisburg to New York. Switching over to track number 3 at Fair Interlocking. I'm in the first car. Fleet 1 car 82661. Our locomotive is ACS 64 number 603. See, it's a kind of a cloudy day today, which is actually pretty good because I can film on this side of the train going south at this time of the day. There's the Delaware River entering the beautiful state of Pennsylvania. Some street running down there. This is Morrisville, Pennsylvania. Interlocking is Morris. It's a set of Arrow MUs coming out of the storage yard at Morrisville, heading into Trenton Station. His old Morris Tower. Tracks going up was what was once the beginning of the Trenton Cutoff. Now it's the lead to the Morrisville yard for New Jersey Transit. At this point, we're traveling on the old Pennsylvania Railroad New York division. houses here and little fishing shanties is what they call the Redneck Riviera here. You'll see a lot of trailers and fishing huts up here. To visit my friend in DC some point before he left the end of this week. Today was probably the best day to do it because I could get the cheapest fare. Going down, the fare is pretty economical, $41, but the fare coming back was too irresistible to pass up. $20 coming back on train 186 tonight back to New York. Leaves at 8:30. Hope to do a little ride to Manassas on Virginia Railway Express in the meantime today. Levittown, SEPTA station. Delaware River Bridge connecting the New Jersey and Pennsylvania turnpikes. Just past Grundy Tower. This is Grundy interlocking. Grundy interlocking. Yeah, we went through here pretty quick. If you go through here on track number 4, it's a pretty bumpy ride. Bristol Station with a SEPTA train of sorts. Years ago, I used to see local freights with Alco T6 locomotives running around in this area, in addition to Baldwin's. Croydon SEPTA station. is Eddington Station. If you blink, you'll miss it. Sometimes this time in the morning you see a Conrail Shared Assets local working this territory. Cornwell's Heights at the station. This is not a quiet car, so I can talk all I want. A lot of people like it when I talk instead of use graphics, but sometimes I can't help it. Slowing for the curve at Torresdale. Reverse curves east and west of Torresdale Station. This is where we enter the Philadelphia city limits. Torresdale Station for SEPTA. City of Philadelphia. Holmesburg Junction Station. This is Holmes Interlocking. Thump, thump, thumpity thump. He hardly slowed down. Station is Tacony. We're alongside Interstate 95 here, and not too long ago there was a disastrous collapse of Interstate 95. I think it was the northbound lanes at Cotman Avenue. Governor Shapiro says it'll be reopened in 2 weeks. Just collapsed on top of a burning truck. Completely gutted the lanes, and they're in the process of putting up a new bridge. Bridesburg SEPTA station. A few weeks ago there was a bad junkyard fire just on this side of the Bridesburg station. Bad fire. This is the site of the former Ford interlocking. By the way, back there, I think around Andalusia, on this side of Andalusia, we entered the Philadelphia division of the old Pennsy. There's a sign alongside the tracks that marks the boundary of the New York and Philadelphia divisions. Here's what's left of the once mighty Pennsylvania Railroad Frankfort Yard. Not much here today. Rounding the infamous curve at Frankfort. Tracks over there, that's the Atlantic City line and the line that the freight trains use to go to Pavonia Yard in Camden. Where the old Frankfort Junction station used to be. There's a remnant of the platform for that station. It was a great train watching spot. Some rail fans try to rail fan here today, but there's the gutted shore tower. There's the Market Frankfort subway elevated line overhead. If rail fanning was allowed at Frankfort Junction, which I don't think it is, I wouldn't feel comfortable in that neighborhood. Building is where Bennett Levin kept his Pennsylvania Railroad painted E8s. No shortage of junkyards here. No shortage of gutted buildings, graffiti. One of the downsides, or several of the downsides of Philadelphia. But it's got a lot of good sides. This is Clearfield interlocking. Approaching North Philadelphia, about to pass over North Broad Street. Here it is. Pennsylvania Route 611. Take you down to City Hall downtown. This is North Philadelphia Station, the old North Philadelphia Tower. Chestnut Hill branch joins up on SEPTA on the right. You can't see it. The interlocking that we're going through where that branch joins us is Lehigh.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Now, if you look closely, you might see a graffiti painted Pennsylvania Railroad caboose. See it?
Yeah.
Somebody needs to give it a coat of paint.
Sure. Sure. What if I said 9? Would that be just good for you, or do you not 9? Okay, good. Yeah, no, not at all. This is totally fine. Totally fine. Okay, fine.
It's like some kind of a freight train here. Tanks. Ooh, CSX. Third unit was a ST40-2. Okay, this is Mantua interlocking. Approaching the Schuylkill River Bridge. You get a really great view of the Philadelphia skyline here. The road there crossing the bridge is Girard Avenue. The Route 15 trolley is supposed to be restored with refurbished PCCs. It hasn't happened yet. Here's the Philadelphia Zoo. Okay, we just passed Girard interlocking. We're going through the zoo tower complex, which is still manned, by the way. All kinds of tracks going every which way. We're ducking under and heading down the river line along the Schuylkill. Last time I rode this train down to DC back in the summer of 2021, we took the Berry connection.
Philadelphia 30th Street Station will be next. Leaving the train in Philadelphia, make sure all your personal items and lunches at 30th Street Station, Philadelphia will be next.
Berry connection is a slow route that takes sort of the back door into 30th Street. is the Schuylkill Expressway. On the other side of the river is Boathouse Row. It's going through a refurbishment. At night it's all lit up like Christmas trees, but they're turning the lights off. I don't know if they've finished the work yet. Well, that magnificent building up on the upper right is the Philadelphia Museum of Art. One of the best. I've been there. They got some great paintings in there. People say Philadelphia takes a backseat to New York City, but in a lot of ways it's just about its equal. Probably going to get a lot of hate mail. Well, Tug McGraw once said when they won the 1980 World Series at the Victory Parade, he goes, all through history, Philadelphia's had to take a back seat to New York City. Well, New York City, you can take this championship trophy and stick it, because we're number one. The Tugger. Great pitcher for the Mets and the Phillies. But I think his greatest legacy was with the Phillies. Although with the Mets, the most famous part of his career there, he was the first pitcher to defeat Sandy Koufax. Okay, coming into 30th Street. But of course, the Tugger is best known for standing up with his arms raised when the Phillies won the World Series in 1980. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Philadelphia 30th Street Station is stopped.
Our adjacent track looks like it's getting ready for the northbound Vermonter to come in from Washington to St. Albans, Vermont. We got 9:45.
Yeah. There.
Okay, departing 30th Street, Philadelphia, 9:48.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Albert will be arriving alongside. We will be back. We'll be coming through collecting trash and also discussing the bathroom. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you for riding the Amtrak. Enjoy your ride.
Okay, this interlocking complex here is Penn, P-E-N-N, north of the station and south of the station, immediately near to the station. On the other side, you can see a cantilever signal over CSX, the old B&O, main from Philadelphia to Washington, the old Royal Blue Route. Royal Blue Route ran from Jersey City to Washington.
And round to Washington after Washington train continues making intermediate stops down to Norfolk, Virginia. Business class is the large car, and second to the rear is a quiet car.
Going under South Street.
Have their cars located towards the center of the train.
Well, that was definitely Amtrak
20
56,
minutes, Wilmington, Delaware will be next.
the Vermonter to St. Albans. There's old Arsenal Tower going through Arsenal interlocking. Tracks coming down on the left, it's the Philadelphia elevated branch. West Philadelphia elevated branch. Used to be used heavily by the Army Navy specials. Now it's freight trains. There's the Schuylkill River. Letter K5LA one. Well, this is Phil interlocking here. Just passed under the CSX former B&O. And off here, go to the left, is the SEPTA airport line to Philadelphia International Airport. That tower we passed that was derelict was the old Brill Tower. Shortly we're going to pass the SEPTA Elmwood Trolley Barn. You're going to see a lot of trolleys. Assortment of Kawasaki trolleys that have been around since the early 80s. They're going to be replaced soon. And there were some PCCs in there. Those things are likely to be around longer than the Kawasaki's. This is SEPTA's Derby station. Curtis Park SEPTA station. Sharon Hill SEPTA station. Got a bunch of stations pretty close together here. Fulcroft. Prospect Park Moore Station. Ridley Park that was being blocked by something. That appropriate dingy looking shed was appropriately named Crumlin. Baldwin Tower. There's a UPS plane about to land in Philadelphia Airport. The station is Eddystone. Eddystone is famous as being the location of the Baldwin Locomotive Works. I saw a train over there. Freight train. Interlocking we thumped over is Baldwin. This is Chester, Pennsylvania, the oldest town in Pennsylvania. There's the Chester Station. Federal Revival style, similar to New Brunswick. That bridge you see in the background, just about to pass underneath it, right here. It goes by a couple of names, the Swedesboro Chester Bridge and the Commodore Barry Bridge. Avenue, Chester Station for Center. Interlocking. Old Hook Tower. SEPTA Station, Marcus Hook. Last station in Pennsylvania. Lots of refineries down here. station is the new Claymont station that's being built. That's the present Claymont station that's going to be replaced by that new high platform affair. Delaware, the first state, ratified the Constitution in 1787. There's the mighty Delaware River with New Jersey on the other side. Going underneath track 1, that's heading over to Edgemore Yard. Right here, it's around Bellevue, Delaware. This is where you enter the old Pennsy Chesapeake division. Which we follow all the way to Washington. Here's the old bell tower. Interlocking here is Bell. Train coming out of there in the background. Lead unit was one of those ugly SD60Es. Well, here's the Amtrak locomotive shop facility at Bear. Ooh, a couple of ALC 42s. GP 38-3s. I see some HHP8 hulks out there without pantographs. They're going to make cab cars out of them. They're the stupidest looking cab car you ever saw. They weren't particularly great locomotives either. Too many problems. Very powerful, but too many problems. They were very fussy with temperature changes. Right here, this is land lift interlocking.
Wilmington, Delaware is next to the train and Wilmington. Make sure of all your personal items. Watch the step. Wilmington, Delaware will be next.
Approaching Wilmington, Delaware, largest city in Delaware. It's known as Penn Station, also known as the Joe Biden Transportation Center. Pardon me, Joseph R. Biden Transportation Center. here is called wine, W-I-N-E. I tend to drink a few of those from time to time. Driving Wilmington. Over there's a train that's headed for Philadelphia and beyond. Temple University, it says. No further comment. I mean, those are the GE Scepter Silverliner 4s. Been around for about 50 years. From what I hear, they're becoming more problematic with each passing day. We arrive here at 10:07. Wilmington's an interesting city. There's a river walk nearby to the south, behind those cars a little ways. River walk, lots of restaurants, good seafood places. And the beautiful thing about the state of Delaware is you pay no sales tax. I went to one of those restaurants down there and I got the check and I'm like looking at it and it gave a price and I'm like looking all over. And I asked the waiter, I said, where's the tax? Where's the tax? I don't see any tax listed. He said, there isn't any, sir. Cool. Well, our next stop is Baltimore. About 45 minutes or so. Okay, departing 10:10. It's about 108 miles to DC from here. Riverfront Market, Delaware State University in this brick office block. You know, like we're going through here is Brandy. Interlocking is yard. So a set of searchlight signals over there. Track coming out. On the left, as we round this bend, here it is. It's an NS track. It used to be known as the Shellpot branch. Here is Reagan, R-A-G-A-N. Going through is Newport, Delaware. Used to be a station here. Three tracks here, right to left, 3, 2, 1. Take long to get through this state. SEPTA continues rush hour service beyond Wilmington to Newark. Pronounced, well, it's spelled like Newark, New Jersey, but you pronounce it Newark. Don't call it Newark. Churchman's Crossing, SEPTA station. One thing I've noticed about the parking lots at these SEPTA stations in Delaware, they have security guards watching over them. One time I wanted to watch trains at that station back there, and the security guard wouldn't let me. Back after 9/11. Hopefully they're more lenient today. There's an Amtrak work train. Love those locomotives. I know at least one of their locomotives that they use at work train service is a former Long Island Railroad GP38-2. Interlocking, we just passed is Ruthby. That's track A that just began. SEPTA trains use it to go into the Newark station. Davis Tower. And a secondary line comes in from southern Delaware. There's the Newark SEPTA station. You see the remnant of Chrysler Yard here. Used to be a Chrysler plant. University of Delaware is in Newark. Not much left of Chrysler Yard, is there? This interlocking here is iron. Track A ended. I'll identify all the interlockings that I'm aware of. Ones I'm not aware of, I'll put down as graphics later. The Maryland state line. When you see the old station of Elkton, you'll know for sure that you're in Maryland. Elkton, Maryland. We'll be in Maryland all the way to the DC border at the Anacostia River.
Yeah, we're in the train.
My friend that I'm going to visit works in a hotel. Right across the street conveniently is a liquor store. I'll get him something that he can put in his gas tank. His.
Yeah, I'll text you if I get anything.
Oh, he loves his Jack Daniels. Me, personally, I don't like drinking hard liquor. I just stick with wine. Forget about beer. I can't drink that anymore. sharp curve.
Hello, we just took a right to Wilmington.
Interlocking is bacon, like bacon and eggs.
You lost an AirPods in the back seat of your car.
Down to 2 tracks. I think they're numbered 2 and 3.
Okay.
No 1.
All right. What? My number is 703-380-1454.
This part of the ride down to DC is pretty scenic. A lot of woods, farms, across 3 nice looking rivers. Most famous is the Susquehanna Bridge. That's very high above the water. The other 2, the Bush River and the Gunpowder River, are low crossings.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, look at this. It's like a distant estuary of the Chesapeake Bay. Charlestown, Maryland. Always got a kick out of the Maryland state flag. It's sort of a yellow and black checkerboard design. Looks like they're getting ready, when they wave that flag, it's like they're getting ready for the Indianapolis 500 to start. Pretty wild flag. Doesn't seem like it's that big a state, but it really is. I mean, if you go from the western part of the state around Oakland and the mountains, it's quite a distance to get to the Atlantic coast at Ocean City. Interlocking here is Prince. Used to be known as Principio. They shortened it. Substantial maintenance of way yard here. Perryville Maintenance Facility. engines we've seen thus far, I'm going to see if I can try to find out what their original heritage is. One of them might have been that Long Island engine. It's Perry Tower. This is Perry Interlocking, Perryville. This is where the Perryville MARC station is on the other side. Beginning of the MARC Commuter District is the Susquehanna River Bridge. Is Oak. Tracks again. 1, 2, 3. You know, around Havre there are two interlockings. One is Grace and the other is Oak. I have to check on that and find out where they are. Track is shared with MARC commuter trains from Perryville all the way to Washington. This is Aberdeen, Maryland. MARC station, home of the Aberdeen Proving Grounds and the birthplace of Baltimore Orioles great Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken Jr. What a great player he was. A Marylander in every respect. You talk about Cal Ripken, you talk about the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles had some great baseball teams back in the late 60s, early 70s. I don't know what possessed Cincinnati to get rid of Frank Robinson and get Milt Pappas. It's got to be one of the most stupidest trades of all time. They thought Frank Robinson was too old in Cincinnati, so they traded away for rather mediocre Milt Pappas. And what did Frank Robinson do when he got to the Orioles? He won the Triple Crown in 1966. Too old? BS. Frank Robinson made that team great back then. They already had talent. They had Brooks Robinson, they had Boot Powell, and a great manager in Earl Weaver. What a great pitching staff they had. Jim Palmer, Mike Cuellar, Dave McNally, Pat Dobson in 71. 71, they had 4 20-game winners. Great bullpen. Dick Hall, Tommy Phoebus, Eddie Watt. Great infield, Davey Johnson, Mark Belanger. Some really good utility players, Merv Redmond. Andy Etchebarren, Elrod Hendricks, they were catchers, those two. To this day, don't know how the Orioles didn't win the World Series in '69. They won 109 games that year. They came up against this miracle team called the New York Mets. That interlocking is Bush, and this is Bush River. Two tracks again, 2 and 3. Station at Edgewood, Maryland. That's a pretty exciting place to watch trains. Got the platforms on both tracks with trains whizzing by at 125 miles an hour. Interlocking here is wood. Magnolia. Running a left-hand curve. When we come out of that curve, we're going to cross over the Gunpowder River, our third river. is. It'd be a great place to rail fan from a boat out here. Interlocking here is gunpower. Gunpow. Gunpow. Back in the 80s, they had a disastrous wreck here. This is Chase, Maryland. Conrail locomotives, light power, ran past the stop signal and onto the main, and an Amtrak train clobbered them. Oh, what a mess. Started mandatory drug testing on the railroads. A fellow by the name of Ricky Gates. Every railroader will know who Ricky Gates is and the mistake that he made. Now we got 4 tracks. Airport here. See some Mark equipment. There's the Martin Airport Mark Station. Looks like a C-130. ST Engineering. Used to be Martin Marietta. So you're riding on this New York-Washington corridor. It doesn't take long to get places. We're on the outskirts of Baltimore now. Houses. That tips me off that we're getting close to Baltimore. here's Bayview Yard for Norfolk Southern. They run quite a few coal trains into here. Ooh, crappy power. Flying Yankee wouldn't like that. I don't like that, but not for the same reason. GE junk. Ugh. More GE junk. Yeah, this is the perfect day for doing this. Sometimes cloudy weather is a plus. You don't have to worry about sun angles. See the Baltimore skyline now. Met a nice young lady in Penn Station, New York, who lives in New York City in Manhattan, but she works in Baltimore. Down near the Inner Harbor she works. Nice place to be. That's a great part of Baltimore. Interlockings before and after Baltimore that I don't know that well, but I will definitely put those in later. Well, we're about to enter the Union Tunnels.
Penn Station will be next. If leaving the train in Baltimore, make sure you're on your personal items. Watch your step. Baltimore, Penn Station will be next.
isn't a particularly long tunnel. Well, here we are, we're coming out. The one on the other side of the station is even longer. The signal boxes interlocking around here is Paul, named after a famous conductor. Penn Station, Baltimore. There's a Mark MP36PH-3C. No mistaking the mark colors. Okay,
Baltimore Penn Station, this is Baltimore.
we arrived at 10:55 a.m., exactly 45 minutes from Wilmington. That's a 68-mile jaunt. Pretty fast.
141 en route to Norfolk, Virginia. 141 to Norfolk, Virginia. 12 minutes, BWI Airport Rail Station will be at train 141 to Norfolk, Virginia.
Out of Baltimore, 10:57. It's like they're building a high platform over there. This area used to be known as B&P Junction for Baltimore and Potomac. It was an old railroad. It merged with the Philadelphia, Wilmington, and Baltimore Railroad to become the Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington Railroad, later absorbed by the Pennsylvania Railroad. Used to be a tower here called B&P. This interlocking has a different name. I have to look it up. Into the B&P tunnels. These were built in the late 1800s. These are going to be replaced. This time I'll show you the whole ride through the tunnel. Express. big ones. In fact, they used to have a helper engine sitting at Penn Station in Baltimore to assist. It's a good grade in here. Sometimes an AEM 7 would assist the freight trains through here as a helper. They call it the Baltimore Tunnel Helper. I was reading an old Trains magazine article about the Northeast Corridor, and there was a sort of a chapter in that article about a maintenance worker who has to do maintenance away on the tracks in this tunnel. And he was walking down the tunnel with one of the riders, and all of a sudden this freight train came in with a diesel engine on it. This deafening roar, it sounded like a huge earthquake. And the guy said to the rider, "You're in for it now." All that roar was an SW 1500 on a local freight. There's another train we just passed. It's definitely an impediment going through this tunnel. They're building a new tunnel. I think it's a 2-track tunnel. It's for 4 tracks, 2 portals, much faster. And this will be mercifully put out of service. Okay, that was it. Lovely neighborhood. Yeah, Baltimore, like Philadelphia, has its questionable neighborhoods. But if you know where to go, like Philadelphia, it's delightful. Back in 1972, I felt like coming down to Baltimore to go to a Baltimore Orioles game at Memorial Stadium at that time. I walked from Penn Station to the ballpark, and oh, what a long walk that was. And the neighborhood definitely was dicey. It's amazing I'm still alive to talk about it today. It's an interesting stadium. West Baltimore MARC station. Interesting stadium. All the seats were exposed. It was out in a residential neighborhood in the far end of the city. Not convenient to downtown like the current ballpark is. Oriole Park at Camden Yards. That's a beauty. From Baltimore to Washington, this train is sort of like a local. It stops at BWI rail station in New Carrollton. ago, I mean, the low fare was a huge enticement. If I had gone tomorrow, just a one-way fare would have been 4 times the round-trip fare I'm paying today. Train with an MP36. I think they still run HHP8s on Mark.
BWI Airport, please start walking to the nearest door.
This is the Halethorpe Mark station. Gonna pass under the B&O CSX main line up here. There it is. There's a train up there. It's a 3-track main. 2 tracks of the Capitol subdivision and the old main line. It's a single track line that takes kind of a roundabout hilly profile to Point of Rocks, Maryland. Separates from the Capitol sub at Relay. Thomas Viaduct is just beyond that separation. BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport Station. Used to be known as Friendship Airport. Arrived 11:09 a.m.
Passengers detraining in New Carrollton, the conductor or his assistant will give you specific instructions where you will detrain at New Carrollton.
Okay, out at 11:12. Next stop, New Carrollton, Maryland. Yeah, it's pleasant. When we left New York, they were announcing that the train was full, but thus far I've had the seat all to myself. A lot of people have.
Did you have a stand already? Yeah. Oh, you could. No, you're all right.
they say that they're closing this car at Washington. Well, that's fine with me since I'm getting off there. It's just amazing how many trains they have going beyond Washington to Virginia destinations. Washington Union Station is the engine change capital of Amtrak. Here's the end of one of the runways at BWI. Ooh, somebody got on the wrong train.
No, it didn't pull in yet. So we had to pull out, and then this train was going to pull in. So you jumped on the train too early. Yeah, you missed it. So we came in south, and then we were going to move out of the way, and then that train would have came.
Sounds like a woman got on at BWI wanting to go to a MARC destination. The conductor's giving her a lecture about what she's got to do. She'll be blowing by at the station she wanted to get off at, most likely at triple-digit speeds, unless she wants to make a run for it. Might need a really good crash helmet. I can get almost anything from Amazon. Well, we have 3 tracks pretty much here. 1, 2, 3. Is Grove. Station is Odenton, MARC station. see track 1 over there separates, takes a much sharper curve through here than tracks 2 and 3 take. The MARC trains generally use that track over there. There's a slower speed limit. We're whipping through this curve nice and easy. It's super elevated. And then it came back in. That was the original right-of-way that all of the tracks took years ago. State University MARC station that replaced the original Bowie station. We're passing through there shortly. It's the old Bowie Tower stands in a park here, and the Pope's Creek Secondary diverges off on a Y. That was Bowie interlocking. There's the tower. Got a chassis caboose there.
Those passengers who are towards the front of the train, please start walking back towards the cafe car. For those passengers who are in business class, you're going to exit towards the front of the quiet car. New Carrollton.
New Carrollton is right after the Seabrook MARC station a little ways. South of Wilmington, Penn C days and Penn Central days, even early Conrail. There are quite a few railroad crossings on this line. This area we're going through is Glendale. Back in the 70s, I was stationed at Fort Meade for some temporary duty, and I went down to the crossing here at Glendale one afternoon with my tape recorder. Got GG1s and E44s going by, and those Metroliners with those sick horns that they had. Yeah, that's it, right there. Where that building was, that was the crossing where I was hanging out at all afternoon. Too bad I don't have those recordings anymore. Seabrook MARC station. Soon we'll be slowing for our stop at New Carrollton.
Again, in just a few minutes, New Carrollton Station will be next. Leave the train, make sure all your personal items are locked and set. And if you're exiting at New Carrollton, please come to the rear of the cafe car to exit. Also at this time, the cafe car is now temporarily closed. And there'll be an announcement made as to when the cafe car will reopen. Thank you for your patronage.
Well, coming from New York, when this train gets into Washington, D.C., The trip will only be half over. Still got about that much distance to travel to get to Norfolk. Okay, coming into New Carrollton. The Amtrak MARC station also is shared with the Orange Line Metro station. You can see a set of Washington Metro equipment stopped at the New Carrollton Orange Line station. Platform is a mess. This station replaced the old Capitol Beltway station. It was built with wooden platforms. Okay, we're out of New Carrollton at 11:26. We're in pretty good shape, time-wise. Doing Union Station, Washington at 11:41. And here we get to parallel the Orange Line for a little ways. Another MARC MP36. It's Landover. Landover is where the old Washington Capitals Capitol Center Arena used to be. 18,130 seats in there. Went to a few games in the 70s. We were a god-awful hockey team back then. First season they won 8 games and lost a whopping 67. Track separating here. It's the old freight line. Trains would go this way to go down to Potomac Yard. They didn't go through Washington Union Station.
It's approximately 1 mile in perspective from the 74-4. But the 73-3 is the southbound one, while the 74-4 is the northbound one.
That's why 73 never showed up
Show up where?
on that sheet that
What sheet?
that was on the flash drive. I looked on the map and saw 73 on the track charts.
It should be there.
See it on the sheet.
Really?
Now, this is where the orange line leaves us. Those
Well,
high
that's because you're
catenary
looking at the
poles.
northbound side.
That's the old freight line.
So look at the southbound side. Well, the southbound side should be odd, right?
Yeah, I saw it.
You could hear a couple of people, a couple of women talking in the background. I think they're Amtrak employees. And this line we just passed underneath is a line that CSX uses. It's part of their Capital Sub. CSX trains to the south of DC, use that track. And they join up with the RF&P sub at Virginia Avenue Tower. Right now we're going through Cheverly, Maryland. We're about to cross the Anacostia River and enter the District of Columbia, DC. They built some parkland around the riverfront. You'll be able to see that. Here it is. See some hiking trails on the left there. Now we're in Washington. Here, the main road we're paralleling here on the left is US Highway 50. We'll pass underneath that. Its other name is New York Avenue. We enter Washington Terminal when we pass underneath that bridge. Nice if a Heritage diesel took over for this train at Washington. Well, we'll find out. We're passing by the Ivy City Yard on the right side of the train now.
If you're leaving the train in Washington, please make sure you have all your personal items. Please remain in the body of the coach behind the sliding door. Until the train comes to a complete stop, crew members must open up the tracks, let the steps down when we arrive at a low platform. This is the first layover stop for this train in Washington. They'll be switching engines from electric to diesel. There'll be a loss of power throughout the train. We ask that you do not use the restrooms during this period. Also, the cafe car will be closed. There'll be announcement made as soon as the cafe car will reopen. Folks, translate south of Washington. Your motor walkers step on the platform, stretch your legs. Just ask that you do not venture too far at departure time. The train will continue making intermediate station stops down Norfolk, Virginia. Just a few minutes. Union Station, Washington, D.C. will be next.
Okay, we're passing under New York Avenue here, entering Washington Terminal trackage. the BEI Co-op used to be an arena that the Beatles performed in many years ago. Arriving in beautiful downtown Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., it's a special place to be. The seat of our nation. Seat of liberty and democracy, and that's the way it should always be. Sort of a heritage paint scheme. Just disconnected from an arriving train from the south. And there's plenty of those here. Washington, D.C. is the Amtrak version of Croton Harmon in New York Central days. Loads of engine changes. And we arrive at 11:38 with 3 minutes early. Engineer and locomotive did a great job getting down here. A couple of minutes late out of New York, got here 3 minutes early. We had to make quite a few stops. Time to unhook. New crew that's taken over. This train adjacent to us is 176 headed for Boston. Train 176 comes from Roanoke, Virginia. He's already traveled quite a distance to get here. He's got about 458 miles to go to get to Boston. You hear him all over town. Get a load of this. Mark GP40 WH2 over there? I thought they got rid of those for good. Man, listen to that General Motors prime mover hum. Wow. The sound from way back. Well, 176 just pulled out, heading for Boston. Guess what was powering it? Like I said, everywhere I go, 642, the Veterans Unit. Oh, finally, there's the P42 for train 141. They're getting ready to uncouple it. Time since I've seen one of these engines. 141's diesel is backing up. Trying to go upstairs.
If you cannot maintain the integrity of the quiet car, you're going to have to ask you step out of the quiet car and sit in another car. Directly in front of business class is going to be our cafe car. Our cafe car at the moment is temporarily closed. We will make an announcement when it is open and available for the passengers to use. At this point in time, we ask that you guys have all tickets available for conductors to come through and scan. Have all
tickets out and readily available for the conductors to come through and scan. Even if you are joining us from down south and have been on the train and your ticket was already scanned, there is a new crew on board, so we have to rescan your tickets. So please have all tickets out, readily available to be scanned by the conductors coming through momentarily. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Amtrak train 186 to New York City. Our next stop will be New Carrollton. New Carrollton is our next stop.